Of a pregnant mother killed in her parents' driveway says they're relieved that police have made an arrest now. They say while the suspect was on the run, he was posting on social media and even responding to their posts. Channel 2's Tom Jones live at DeKalb County, where the family says this isn't the first time they've lost a loved one to gun violence.
And Justin, Raisha Hurd was killed right here in her parents' driveway. The family says a year ago they lost another family member to gun violence. They say Raisha helped them deal with that death, and now she's gone.
She stood in her parents' driveway, groceries in hand, her young son by her side. It was supposed to be just another quiet evening, dinner with family, laughter in the kitchen, the kind of everyday moment we all take for granted. But within seconds, that calm was shattered. A man she once trusted, the father of her unborn child, turned that driveway into the scene of an unimaginable nightmare. And while her loved ones cried out for justice, he didn't disappear in guilt or remorse. No, he went online. He scrolled, he liked, he commented, he mocked their pain as if nothing had happened. Their grief became his stage. This isn't just a story about violence. It's a story about trust betrayed, red flags ignored, and a past that should have served as a warning. It's about a young woman whose life was stolen, and a man whose cruelty didn't end when the trigger was pulled. Welcome to City Crime Channel, where we dive deep into real stories that shake communities and expose the darkness hiding behind everyday faces. If you care about justice, awareness, and the truth behind these cases, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss the stories that matter. In today's case, we're uncovering the chilling murder of Raisha Danielle Hurd, a pregnant mother gunned down in her parents' driveway in DeKalb County, Georgia. But this story begins long before that October night, because the man who took her life had left a trail of pain and violence behind him, a trail that started with another woman. To understand what happened to Raisha, we need to understand who he was, and the darkness that followed him long before their paths crossed. Before we talk about the crime, let's talk about the woman. Because Raisha Danielle Hurd, lovingly called Rain by those closest to her, was so much more than just a headline or a statistic. She was a daughter, a nurse, a friend, a mother to two beautiful boys, and to everyone who knew her, she was a light. Raisha was just 28 years old, young, full of energy and full of plans for the future. She grew up in a close-knit family in Georgia, where strong values and love were at the center of everything. She had a particularly special bond with her dad, the kind of father-daughter closeness that didn't fade when she became an adult. She visited often, shared meals, and leaned on her parents for support, not out of dependence, but out of genuine love. She worked as a nurse, a career that suited her perfectly. Raisha had a reputation for being the kind of person who could make even the toughest days at the hospital a little brighter. She was known to stay late to comfort patients, to bring joy into spaces that often felt heavy. She was the type of woman people remembered, not for what she did, but for how she made them feel. And at home, she was a mom. Her two boys were her world. She poured everything she had into raising them. She was the parent at school events cheering the loudest, the one making sure their birthdays felt magical, the one tucking them in at night with hugs that made everything feel safe. She wasn't perfect, no one is, but she loved fiercely. And anyone who saw her with her kids could feel that bond instantly. She had so much to look forward to. She was expecting another baby, a new chapter, a new life she was ready to welcome with the same love she gave every single day. But what she didn't know was that this new beginning would place her in the crosshairs of a man capable of unimaginable cruelty. A man whose darkness had already taken one woman's life before hers. This story isn't just about what happened to her. It's about who she was before that night. Because Raisha's life wasn't defined by the violence that ended it, it was defined by the love she gave, the lives she touched, and the dreams she held close. Have you ever known someone who just had that presence, that light that made everyone around them feel safe? If you have, tell me about them in the comments below, because remembering people like Raisha keeps their stories alive. But behind every beautiful life, there can sometimes be a shadow. And for Raisha, That shadow came in the form of a man whose charm disguised a violent past. When Justin Lewis came into Raisha's life, he didn't appear dangerous. On the surface, he was confident, ambitious, a man chasing his dreams. A man who knew how to present himself. The kind of person who, at first glance, seemed like he had it all figured out. He spoke with purpose, carried himself with swagger, and always seemed to know the right thing to say. People noticed him when he walked into a room, not because he demanded attention, but because he exuded control. He was an aspiring rapper who called himself Mad Music Cali. He had a presence online, the flashy lifestyle, the performance clips, the studio nights. He wasn't a household name, but in his world he was climbing. He rubbed shoulders with industry figures, posted pictures that screamed success, and carried himself like someone who was on the edge of something bigger. There were cars, late-night sessions, people hyping him up. And to someone on the outside, that can look impressive. Can look like ambition. Like stability. Like a future. The kind of energy that draws you in, before you even realize you've stepped closer than you should.
Keep doing what you're doing, you know what I'm saying? And make that music, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause you be spitting all the time
And for someone like Raisha, a woman who valued hard work, who was raising her boys and building a life, meeting someone with that kind of drive might have felt like finding a partner who shared her vision. Someone with direction. Someone who made her feel like she didn't have to carry it all alone. Because when someone mirrors your ambition, it feels like alignment, not danger. And that's the thing about charm. It makes you feel seen even when the reflection isn't real. But appearances can be deceiving. The truth is, ambition can coexist with something much darker. And charm can be the mask that hides it. It's easy to fall for the version someone shows you, the version they want you to see. Behind Justin's confident image was a past most people didn't know about. A history that wasn't written in studio sessions or music videos, but in police reports, in family testimonies, and in the fear of a woman who came before Raisha. The man who played the part of the dreamer had already left behind a trail, one that would soon reveal who he really was. Before Raisha entered his life, Justin had been married. And the woman he once called his wife would become the first to experience his brutality. Have you ever met someone who seemed perfectly charming, but something about them just didn't sit right? Tell me your thoughts in the comments, because sometimes the warning signs are quiet at first, almost invisible, until it's too late. Let's go back before Raisha, before that October night. To understand the darkness that would eventually reach her, we need to understand what happened in Justin's marriage, and to the woman who came before her. Before Raisha ever met Justin, there was another woman. A woman whose story should have been a warning. A woman who didn't survive her time with him. Her name was Sydney Dior. Sydney was young, in her early 20s, when she met Justin. Back then he had that same charm, that same spark that drew people in. The smooth talk, the grand plans, the way he could make you believe you were stepping into a life bigger than your own. Sydney was bright, a dreamer, full of laughter, with a future ahead of her that looked wide open. And like so many young women, she thought she'd found her forever. Someone who saw her, cherished her, and wanted to build something real. They got married not long after. To everyone around them, it seemed like a fairy tale beginning, two young people chasing a shared dream. Justin was ambitious, always talking about music, about success, about making it big. And Sydney supported him completely, standing by his side through every promise. But behind the photos and the smiles, there was another story. One that didn't make it to social media. Because behind closed doors, their marriage wasn't built on love. It was built on fear. According to those who loved her, Sydney's life with Justin became a cycle of violence. Her family remembers the first time she showed up wearing long sleeves in the middle of summer. They remember her excuses, how she said she fell or bumped into something. But the bruises told another story. The black eyes. The marks on her arms. The quiet, distant look that began replacing her once bright smile.
She was married to Justin for 5 years. He was really abusive to her. He fought her a lot. Like, he gave her black eye.
And then there was the night she ended up in the hospital, her injuries so severe she needed staples in her head. Her loved ones say that was the night they truly began to fear for her life. Sydney confided in the people closest to her, trying to make sense of what was happening. She told them Justin could be kind one moment and terrifying the next. That he wanted to control where she went, who she spoke to, even what she wore. But still she held on to hope. Hope that things would get better. That he'd go back to the man she fell for, the one who made her feel special. Like so many caught in the cycle of abuse, she thought love could fix what violence kept breaking. But abuse doesn't stay hidden forever. It escalates. It grows. It consumes everything. And for Sydney, that escalation would be fatal. One night, Sydney Dior was found shot inside her car outside an apartment complex in New Orleans. The engine was still running. The headlights were on. And Sydney was gone. The details surrounding Sydney's death were murky, but chillingly familiar. Police questioned Justin. Friends and family begged for answers. But nothing stuck. No one was ever charged. No one ever faced trial. And officially, Sydney's death remains unsolved to this day. But to those who knew her best, the truth wasn't hard to see. They had seen the pattern. They had lived through the fear. They knew. Sydney's family has never stopped believing that Justin was responsible. They remember her calls late at night, the panic in her voice, the apologies that followed after the fights. They remember her saying she was scared, that she wanted to leave but didn't know how. But without hard proof, their words fell into silence. No arrests. No closure. Just grief that turned into anger, and anger that turned into heartbreak. If Sydney's cries had been taken seriously, if her bruises had been seen not as isolated moments, but as warnings, maybe Raisha's story would have ended differently. Maybe her unborn child would have lived. Maybe her 2 boys would still have their mother. But it didn't. And the same darkness that took Sydney Dior's life was about to find its way into Raisha's. So often, stories like Sydney's fade into silence. Forgotten because justice was never served. But I want to ask you something. If someone you loved came to you showing signs of abuse, what would you do? Would you step in even if it risked the friendship? Would you trust that the system would protect them, or would you fight harder to make sure they were safe? Let me know in the comments. These are hard questions, but they matter. Sydney's story wasn't just a tragic chapter in Justin's past. It was a flashing red light, a warning that went unheeded. And when Raisha met him, that same darkness didn't disappear. It only waited for its next victim. When Raisha first met Justin, she wasn't meeting the man Sydney feared. She was meeting the man he wanted the world to see. The performer, the dreamer, the man with smooth words and a confident smile. The kind of man who, at first, made you feel seen. She met him during a period in her life when she was focused on her kids, her career, and creating something stable for her family. So when this ambitious, outgoing rapper came along, he probably felt like a breath of fresh air. A reminder that love could still find her. He presented himself as someone who understood the grind, someone building just like her. But what Raisha didn't know was that beneath the charm was a history written in bruises and unanswered cries for help. She had no idea that she was stepping into the same storm another woman had barely survived. Like many relationships, it likely started with good moments. The late-night conversations, the sense of excitement, that early spark where everything feels light. That's what makes abusive relationships so complicated. The danger doesn't always walk through the door waving red flags on day one. It starts subtly and builds. As their relationship progressed, Justin became more present in her life. He wasn't just some guy she met. He was the father of the child she would soon be expecting. And that bond, in many ways, made everything feel more permanent, more serious. But with that seriousness came something else: control. Raisha may not have known the full details of Justin's past with Sydney Dior. Maybe she heard whispers, maybe she didn't. But like so many women before her, she likely believed her story would be different. That he would be different this time. That love or time or a baby might change him. But Justin didn't change. What did change was Raisha's world. It's easy from the outside to wonder how someone could end up with a person like him. But real life is messy. Abusers don't walk in wearing warning labels. They're often charming, attentive, and convincing, until they're not. And by the time the mask slips, it can already be too late. Have you ever seen someone fall for someone who, deep down, you knew wasn't right for them, but they couldn't see it yet? What did you do in that moment? Share your thoughts below. Sometimes, hearing these real experiences can help someone else recognize the signs. As Raisha's relationship with Justin deepened, the warning signs began to surface. And soon, those quiet red flags would turn into flashing alarms that no one could ignore. When Raisha told Justin she was pregnant, everything changed. What should have been a moment of joy, a new life on the way, became the spark that brought out a side of Justin she could never have imagined. Justin didn't react with happiness. There was no excitement, no support. Instead, he pushed back. Hard. He made it clear he didn't want another child. Over and over, he pressured her to get an abortion. And when she stood firm, when she decided to keep her baby, the tension between them began to boil. For many women, pregnancy can be a vulnerable time. Emotions are heightened, futures are being built, and support from a partner means everything. But instead of supporting Raisha, Justin became controlling. His behavior shifted. What once may have looked like confidence started to show as possession. Arguments became more intense. Emotional manipulation became a constant. Justin's threats grew louder. He wasn't just asking anymore, he was demanding. Raisha found herself caught between protecting her unborn child and trying to navigate the increasingly dangerous man standing in front of her. And then came the incident that, in hindsight, showed just how dangerous he truly was. During one of their confrontations, Justin pulled out a gun. He tried to shoot her. But the only thing that stopped him was that the clip fell out. Later, he would even tell her to her face, almost bragging, that the only reason she was alive in that moment was because the clip slipped. For anyone else, that would have been the moment to run, to scream for help, to involve the police. But Raisha stayed quiet. Maybe she was terrified. Maybe she held on to hope that the man she'd once cared for would somehow change. Maybe she didn't want to believe that the father of her unborn child was capable of killing her. Victims of abuse often face a terrifying reality. Leaving isn't always simple. Fear, emotional bonds, financial concerns, and even pregnancy itself can make walking away incredibly difficult. And Justin knew that. Abusers often do. So Raisha kept moving forward. She kept working. She kept raising her boys. She kept living her life, even as the storm around her grew darker. She may not have told the world what she was enduring, but the warning signs were already flashing. Sometimes the signs are there, but they're quiet. Have you ever seen a friend or loved one ignore red flags in a relationship because they believed things would change? What would you say to someone in that situation today? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your words could mean something to someone watching right now. The tension between Raisha and Justin was growing, and it wouldn't stay hidden for long. What started as threats behind closed doors was about to spill out into the open, with devastating consequences. October 11th. A quiet evening. Her child beside her. She never saw it coming. It was a regular night in DeKalb County, Georgia. Raisha had been out buying groceries for dinner, a simple family meal she planned to share with her parents and her son. She pulled into the driveway of her parents' home, the place that had always been a safe space. The porch light was on. Her little boy was with her. It was the kind of ordinary moment most of us live every day without a second thought. She opened the trunk. She started unloading the bags. Her son was right beside her, just a few feet away. But in the shadows, someone else was approaching. Justin. He wasn't expected. He wasn't invited. But he showed up anyway. And in the driveway of her parents' home, in front of the child they shared, he pulled out a gun and opened fire. Raisha was shot 5 times. Twice in the back. Once in the chest. Once in the leg. And once in the head. There was no warning. No chance to run. Her son watched in horror as the world he knew collapsed in seconds. The gunfire echoed through the neighborhood. Her parents rushed outside. By the time they reached her, she was lying there in the driveway, the same driveway where her kids had played. The same driveway where family dinners began. Now it had become a crime scene. Justin didn't stay. After shooting Raisha in cold blood, he fled the scene, disappearing into the night. But he didn't vanish completely. The entire attack was captured on a doorbell camera, providing critical evidence that would later expose him. Witnesses confirmed what the footage already showed. Justin Lewis was the man responsible. Imagine for a moment being that child. Watching your mother, the person who made the world feel safe, collapse in front of you. That image doesn't leave. It doesn't fade. It becomes a wound that grows with you. If you're a parent, a sibling, a friend, how do you even begin to explain something like that to a child? What words could make sense of what they saw? Let me know in the comments below, because there are no easy answers. The bullets ended Raisha's life that night. But the story didn't end there. Because in the days that followed, while her family mourned, Justin wasn't hiding in shame. He was online, laughing, mocking, taunting, as if he hadn't just torn a family apart. As Raisha's family tried to process the unimaginable, Justin went online. Not to confess, not to grieve, not even to hide. He logged onto social media and began mocking them.
I used to mess with, you feel me? Like, so, I don't know what to say about that. I feel like if they people felt like this, they spreading the rumors through the internet. Really don't even know what's going on.
So the girl who got killed, that wasn't even your baby mama?
Nah. The one from now, like the one that they saying, it could have been a possibility, you feel me?
So that was your current girlfriend?
I ain't got no girlfriend at all. You feel me? Only thing is my wife. That's the only girl, you feel me, that
Right.
ever.
In the days immediately following the murder, while her parents were planning a funeral and her children were left without their mother, Justin was scrolling, liking posts about the crime, and even responding to family members who were publicly calling him out. It wasn't the behavior of a man in hiding. It was the behavior of someone who believed he could outsmart everyone and get away with it. He even went live on social media, sitting there casually denying everything. He called Raisha someone he used to mess with, claiming that people were spreading rumors about him. He distanced himself from her completely, as if their relationship and the child she was carrying had never existed. For Raisha's family, these posts weren't just words. They were daggers. To see the man who took her life sitting online, dismissing their pain, denying what he'd done, it was unbearable. Her sister and nieces posted messages demanding justice, calling him out directly. And instead of disappearing, he interacted with those posts. He liked them. It was as if he was taunting them, enjoying their anguish. Justin's online behavior showed a chilling lack of remorse. There were no apologies, no panic, no attempts to disappear quietly. Instead, there was arrogance, defiance. A man who thought he was untouchable. Have you ever seen someone try to twist reality so blatantly that it leaves you speechless? How would you feel if someone who hurt your loved one acted like nothing happened, right in front of the world? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because this part of the story stunned so many. But while Justin was online trying to control the narrative, investigators were quietly piecing together the truth. And the doorbell footage, witness statements, and his own digital trail were closing in around him. But investigators were watching. And thanks to technology, community witnesses, and persistence, the net was closing in around Justin Lewis. The doorbell footage from that October night became the backbone of the case. It showed Justin approaching the driveway, gun in hand, and fleeing moments later. It wasn't speculation. It was evidence, time-stamped and undeniable. Detectives worked methodically to reconstruct the timeline of that night. Neighbors reported hearing the gunshots, seeing a figure sprinting from the scene. Eyewitness statements aligned with the footage. Family members described their history with Justin. Piece by piece, the puzzle came together, and the picture was clear. A warrant was issued for Justin's arrest. And while he was online trying to twist the story, investigators were tracking his every move, his car, his phone, his online activity, his known locations. His arrogance would become his undoing. A few days later, Justin was located in Forest Park, Georgia. A coordinated effort between agencies led to his arrest. He was taken into custody without incident and booked into DeKalb County Jail. The man who once mocked a grieving family online was finally in handcuffs. For Raisha's family, his arrest didn't erase the pain. But it brought something they hadn't felt since that night, a small sense of relief. Her sister said it best.
Justin is captured because we don't want anybody else to experience this. No other family.
The family says this isn't their first brush with gun violence.
We just buried my brother last year for gun violence.
Raisha was the glue that held everyone together.
That was my rock.
Does this feel like for you in a situation like this? Would an arrest bring you peace, or would it just be the beginning? Let me know in the comments below. Your voice matters here. 2 women. 2 lives. One devastating pattern of violence that should never have been ignored. Sydney Dior's cries for help were overlooked. Raisha Danielle Hurd's warning signs were missed. And because of that, 2 bright lights were extinguished far too soon. This story isn't just about a single act of violence. It's about the cost of silence. It's about what happens when the signs are dismissed, when stories of abuse are minimized, when systems fail to act. Both Sydney and Raisha deserved better. Their children deserved better. Their families deserved better. If you or someone you love is experiencing abuse, please reach out. You are not alone. In the U.S., you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or visit thehotline.org for confidential support. And if you're outside the U.S., there are local and international resources available. Don't wait. Your story matters. Your safety matters. Raisha's story doesn't end here. Her life was filled with love, light, and purpose. And while her children will grow up without their mother, her spirit lives on in the people she touched, the patients she cared for, the family who adored her, and the community that now speaks her name not in whispers but with strength. If this story moved you, share this video. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. Awareness saves lives. And if you haven't already, subscribe to City Crime Tales and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss real stories that matter. These aren't just cases, they're people, families, and legacies that deserve to be remembered. Sydney's story was a warning. Raisha's story is a reminder. Let's make sure there isn't a third. So stay safe and see you in my next video.